Hello and welcome to Action for Animals. My special thanks to Stacey Russell last week for sitting in for me, and no, these snakes did not run me. I had bronchitis, truly I did. But thank you, Stacey. Weren't those snakes something though? Amazing creatures. Today on Action for Animals, we want to highlight the importance of training, not reptiles, our dogs. And to that end, we have with us in the studio today, we have Trevor O'Neill and Paul Simba. They're both dog trainers, and Trevor has brought his dog, who's I understand, a Dutch Shepherd. Sniper. Hey Sniper, ears ever alert. But before we meet them, let's see just how they do what they do.
So today I'm with Simba on Action for Animals, and we're going to be looking at a really remarkable dog called Sniper. Tell us about Sniper.
Sniper is, first I'm going to say thank you for the opportunity, Gail. It's good to be here. Sniper is a Dutch herder, or what we call a Dutch Shepherd. She is 15 months old, and she has been working from the time she came home at about 7-8 weeks. So yeah, Trevor would have bought her, and she has been working, and she is probably one of the most advanced puppies we have in all the dogs that we have. And she's doing really well.
We're really looking forward to seeing her. So this is her.
So right now, Sniper is a working dog, and she does training for a sport which is called Schützen. It's now called IPO. So she is trained in the disciplines of that sport. So what we have here is a high jump setup, which you'll see Trevor throw a dumbbell over the high jump and ask Sniper to retrieve it and bring it back to him. You will see her clear this long jump. This is how far she can jump now, right? So she's going to jump over that. And then you're going to see her do what she loves the most, is a little protection work, which is the sport work, which is biting work. So you will see her, Trevor will send her something called a revere or a guard, and she will come to me, and she will be barking at me. I will have on a sleeve. He will call her off, and then we're going to do a step out, and we'll show you how she gets the bite and the control that she has when she is doing this work, which is really important if you have an aggressive breed of dog, and to be able to control the aggression. So it's very important to know that when you see this, you don't just pick up your dog and put on something on your hand and ask your dog to bite. These dogs have to go through intense foundation training. We also have another puppy here, which is 7 months, called Ika. This is my dog, and you'll get a few minutes with her. Just show you the foundations of the obedience. She's nowhere near Sniper, but we're going to start with Sniper first to show you where we will get with, where we want to get to.
Action for Animals continues after the break. On Action for Animals, we team up with the animal advocacy group Action for Animals Barbados to enlighten and to inform and to let you know the importance of proper care for your animals, whether they be reptiles or birds or just livestock or domestic animals like dogs or cats. Today, we're stressing the importance of dog training, and we're looking at the work of Trevor O'Neill and Paul Simba.
Trevor is going to call Sniper out, and Sniper is going to come. So notice that Sniper is being commanded in French. So Vinny means to come, Coucher means to go down. So you're going to now see Fous means heel to your side. So that is what you call a focused heel. So the dog is looking up at Trevor in his face while he walks. A pivot heel. Very focused, remember. Sniper is 15 months.
Assy.
Assy means to sit.
Yes. Reward.
And he gets a reward, which he loves to do, which is a retrieve. And she'll come right back with that.
House.
House means house. Very good.
Okay.
So you have, that is called a moving down. You have a moving down, you have a moving stand and a moving sit. So that's a moving stand now. So that's a moving sit. So Sniper just going through the reins of good. Then he gets the reward.
House.
Try some legs.
Back. 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 Back.
Sniper can also back up and downstairs.
Back. 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 Push it. Yes. House.
You'll see the dog come into me.
Yeah.
Trevor is going to give the command called revere. So revere means the dog is to come into me,
Yeah.
center. He is not to bite me, but he is to bark. I'm not
Okay.
to move. Trevor is going to come up to the dog, call him off. I'm going to walk out. And we're going to do something called a transport, where I'll be walking and the dog will be walking with me. And I'm going to try and run away, and the dog is going to jump and bite the sleeve.
Right.
Right? So this is, as we said before, it is a sport, IPO shit sound, but it also gives you the foundation for protection work. You know, if you want to have a protection dog home, this is what your dog would look like.
Okay.
You know, so we advocate this for aggressive dogs, you know, for owners, you know, who have these sort of dogs, German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Pit Bulls,
working
you know,
type
working,
dogs.
you know, that have the tendency to be aggressive. Not all dogs will be aggressive, you know.
But this kind of channels their energy
yeah.
in a more positive way, in a
Right.
more controlled way, yeah?
And the dogs have to be able to do not all of what you just saw, but to be able to think. See, Sniper is right next to you. Notice this is very important because when you see her turned on, you won't believe that is the same dog. If you was to do this first and then have the dog loose, you'll be like, you know. So now you see the dog is very calm, you know, even around me, who that, you know, she knows that I am the decoy. And you will see the change in her attitude when I actually go and take on the sleeve. So again, she's going to revere. She's going to come into me. She's going to bark, right? She's not going to get the bite. Trevor is going to walk in, call her off, send me out. I'm going to walk out. Then I'm going to try and run away, and she's going to apprehend me, you know, and then she's going to do something called a transport.
So this is a lot of trust as well between the dog and its owner as well.
The dog and its owner. The dog and the decoy, in this case is me, you know, because we've been doing this, you know, for practically more than 8 months, when she was old enough to start the actual bite work. So she knows that, she is to go for the sleeve, and not my leg or the free hand.
Action for Animals continues after the break. Trevor O'Neill and Paul Simba are two dog trainers, and we've just seen the work that they do with these precious, precious animals. And one very contented sniper today who's fast asleep. Trevor, tell us about Sniper first of all, and how did you get involved in dog training?
Well, I got involved in dog training because my dad before was a dog trainer. So I guess I inherit the dog training from my dad. And I love dogs, no two ways about it. I think all dogs should be disciplined and learn some obedience.
Why?
Well, I think it's very important that all dogs know obedience because, and obedience is very easy to teach dogs for the simple reason, as long as the dog understands what you want him to do or want her to do, he will do it. If you ask your dog to sit and he understands that, the dog will sit. But most things is the dog do not understand what the owner needs. That's why you get in dog training, so you can teach the owners to train the dogs.
I think also we who are untrained send mixed signals to the animals, and they're not really sure what we really want of them.
That's
so
true.
In your dog training, do you train us too?
That's what I really do. I train the owner and then the owner train the dogs. Because if I train the dog, well, then the dog won't listen to the owner. So I have to teach the owners and then the owners train their own dogs.
What do we as owners do wrong? I am sure that there's so many. It's a wonder that they figure us out.
That's a very good question. What owners does wrong? Number one, the owners treat the dogs like kids. And dogs are not kids, dogs are dogs. And you have to be strict with the dogs. I mean, it's time for loving, it's time for working. So if you just love the dog, well, the dog wouldn't want to work. So you have to put some structure into the dog, actually.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about structure, what do you mean?
Structures like sit, down, and stay, that's very important, especially to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Say you have company coming over. You will ask your dog to sit and stay. Then you invite the company in. And then you introduce the company to the dog. That's structure. But some people have their friends come over and straight away they want to pet the dog, which really isn't right because the person do not know if the dog is an aggressive dog or if it's just a little pet dog.
Well, I always ask first, may I pet him or her? But I know that the children especially, once they see dogs, they go really crazy, especially if they're puppies.
That's right.
So what then do you consider to be the best way, if someone's coming to my house, not to be rude to them and say, don't touch my dog, what's the best way to do that?
Well, the best thing to do is know what time the person's coming over. Know what time the person's coming over. Let's say the person's coming over. Let's say the person's coming over at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You put away your dog in the kennel, in the bedroom, away from the person. Then you know the person's coming over. Then you bring your dog out and introduce the dog to the person after.
Okay.
But don't just wait until the person shows up and then the dog is all excited. The dog must just jump up and then the person gets scared and then you're liable to get an accident.
Right. So in the introduction, how does one do this?
Well,
is the dog on a lead?
Dog always have to be on a lead.
Okay.
That's a must. Even at your home, company's coming over, should be on a lead. Don't care how disciplined your dog is, should be always be on a lead because you never can tell. Something will get trigger the dog.
Yeah.
You get nervous, and when a dog gets nervous, the first thing you do is either run or bite.
Right. Paul, now your dog is a puppy, the one we saw.
Yeah.
is a puppy. What age should one start thinking of training your dog?
Dogs can start at 8 weeks, actually.
8 weeks.
At 8 weeks. We start, Sniper here started at 8 weeks. In fact, maybe 7 weeks actually, in Trevor right here. Yeah, so we start the dogs as soon as the dogs are weaned off the mother. Dogs wean off of their mother about 6 weeks. And then we go straight into the basics of obedience.
Okay, and what are the basics?
We start with introducing the dogs, the puppies, to eating from your hand, because there is something called luring, where we ask the dogs to follow whatever we have, whatever treat we have, and then we are able to shape the different positions, things like that. So the first thing we do is have the dog the puppy get accustomed to eating from our hands.
And this, because I've heard so many different stories about, not letting your dog eat from your hand, but this is why. You say luring?
Luring, Luring, which means basically following around. In the old days, when I was a little boy, like Trevor, my dad loved dogs, and coming up there was a show, like this, and it was called, what it was? A lady called Barbara Woodhouse.
Right.
It was a training show, she sold cookies and something like that. But in those days, the training was something called compulsion training, where you would actually force the dog into the particular position. Like to sit, you would push the dog's hind leg, bottom down to sit, things like that. So it's force training, compulsion. What we do now is something called reward-based training, where the dogs do the action. We lure them in, like you have a treat, piece of cheese, piece of meat in your hand. So for the sit, you would have the treat go up by the nose, so it's like a seesaw. The treat goes up, the dog bottom comes down, and then the dog gets a reward, right? So the dog, it is, people say a kinder way of training the dog, and the dog is more excited and willing to work for you then.
Okay, some interesting points there, because do they expect food all of the time? Do they walk around with their noses stuck to your pocket? We're going to find out a little bit more about that when we take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're here talking with Paul Simba and Trevor O'Neill, and in a little bit we'll interact with Sniper. But Paul was making an interesting comment about treats and the new way of training animals. Rather than forcing them, you reward them. And the importance of that reward, Paul. I interrupted you when we went to break.
It's basically reward system in life, you come to work, your reward is you get paid, you get a salary. If you didn't get a salary, you wouldn't be here. So we do things and we were rewarded, whether we want to call it that or not. So the same thing for the animals, the same thing for the dogs. You were asking me if that means that the dog's going to follow me around all the time. Well, I have house dogs. I have 2 house dogs. I actually have about 6 dogs, but 2 live in the house. And regardless, they follow me around. Anytime I go in the kitchen, they'll be there. But as far as training goes, we wean the dogs off of the treats, the reward. So sometimes the reward can be a toy. Like Sniper is very toy driven. She loves a ball. If Trevor was to bring out the ball now, you see a completely different dog. So she would do the exercise, and her reward would be to go and fetch the ball. Sometimes the reward can be just, a hug, a good girl, so the rewards differ, but we don't
you don't keep the dog sort of dependent on a food reward.
Okay. Now, is there a particular time we should be feeding our dogs so that they know, and where should we place the bowl? The worry is that, strangers might, bring them some kind of harm. So is there also structure in the way that we feed them?
Yes, it is actually, because I teach my dog not to eat off the ground. So his bowl is about 6 inches off the ground, and that's the only place that my dog eats, in his kennel. So if you throw something over my fence, the dog will just ignore it.
Okay, that's good to know. So same place, usual place,
Same place.
usual time,
No,
and
the time
not
differ.
on the ground.
The time do differ.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, because I'm not at home every afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Oh,
So I'm not home every morning at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the mornings. So at this age, the feeding, the time really don't make a difference. But as a puppy, you should get fed at least twice a day. But now as an adult dog, you only get fed once a day.
right.
So sometimes you get fed at 10 o'clock in the morning, sometimes you get fed at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So I really don't think that make much of a difference to time.
How important is socialization? Because they're pack animals, but some of us only have one dog. Others may have more, so they may more have the pack instinct. But how do you go about training socialization for the individual pet?
Well, socialization is very important because dogs have to learn to interact with people. Unfortunately, we're not like the overseas, where you can take your dog inside a store and shop around with your dog. Because most people, from the time you see a dog on a leash, they get scared. I don't know why, but they do get scared. But my dog interacts with me wherever I go. Usually my dog's in the front seat. People come and say hi, he will say hi to them. So he interacts, he can interact with kids, he's very good with kids. But he also can turn on and turn off, because then I can turn the switch on and then he will turn in a different mode. So you can't really come close to him in that mode.
And you do that with what? Hand signals, words?
I have a word for that.
Okay.
Like, everything is words.
Right.
Anything I want him to do. And I speak, this dog knows words in French,
I
and some words in
noticed.
German, and some words in English.
Interesting. Why is that? Why the foreign language?
Well, it came from the German Shepherds, because most dogs, you always hear German Shepherds. So when we teach words in German. But this dog supposed to go in a French ring next 2 years, so you have to know French.
She's supposed to go into a
A
what?
French ring.
What's that?
A French ring is a sport.
Oh.
Probably in Germany, it could be up in the West Asia, Africa. The French ring can be any part of the world, actually.
Okay. And Paul, socialization from the aspect then of being with other dogs. There are some dogs that just don't seem to get along with others.
And you can't really do anything about that. As Trevor was saying, socializing is basically getting your dog out and interacting with people, interacting with other dogs, So you may go to the park, like, we take Sniper to the botanical gardens. She doesn't necessarily have to go and play with other dogs, but she's not to run and engage other dogs. So that's all part, Sometimes people have to understand the different levels of socializing. You may have a dog that is aggressive to other dogs, and that is okay. If your dog doesn't, you have people that just don't really like to be around people. That's like me. It doesn't mean that when I'm around someone I want to fight and, I'm all right, but it doesn't mean that I want to come and hug you and come to your house, or I want you to come to my house, So that's a level of socializing, and all dogs need socializing. As Trevor said earlier, dogs need structure. They have to understand who is the boss, who is the alpha, right? And, in that place, and a lot of times people, we have a lot of square pegs in round holes, right? They don't understand, as Trevor saying, they treat the dogs like if the dogs are children. The dogs need, we don't even give children structure sometimes, far less the dogs anyhow. The dogs need to be a dog, they need to be led, If the dogs should not be making decisions on themselves, by themselves. You know, you should be making the decision for the dog, you know. Most times if you leave the dogs to make decisions on their own, you know, they don't make good decisions.
2 questions I have to ask you, and I know that the time is flying by as usual. One, people who are afraid of dogs, you mentioned it, that whenever they see a dog on a leash or so on, that they get really nervous. But quickly, how should you interact with a person who sees your dog and immediately takes off? You know, because what was the wise thing for us to do in a case like that?
Well, in a situation like that, I usually go on the other side of the road to make it comfortable for the person who's passing.
Okay.
And then I just hold my dog a little bit closer to me so the person will be comfortable. Because it's not about the dog, it's about the person who's uncomfortable.
Okay.
And I let them know that I have the leash holding and the dog is close to me, so you don't really have to worry.
And your opinion on animals who are kept in dog houses and tied?
Well, that's a no-no. Dogs should get exercise at least 2 or 3 hours a day. At least minimum 2 or 3 hours a day. Run in the yard if you have a field, if you have a big open space. Run. You can run on his own. You can get some toys and throw the toys out. And the dog should be able to play with the toys. But remember, the toys are yours, not the dog's own. So when you finish playing with the toys, you put your toys up.
These squeaky toys and so...
All toys are yours, not your dog's own. So the toys only comes out when you're playing with your dog.
No, he doesn't get to keep it all the time.
No, for the simple reason is the dog then will get bored
Right.
with the dog all day.
Okay.
And when you come to engage with your dog will say, look, I was playing ball all day by myself. I just want to rest now.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. This has really been very, very informative, highly enlightening. I certainly hope it has been, excuse me, for you as well. And we're looking forward to spending some more time on Action for Animals and sharing what we learn with you. Just a thought. Remember, dogs are a lifetime commitment. Their lifetime and maybe what you have left. So think carefully about giving a dog as a Christmas gift, okay? Don't. Remember, we had an opportunity to chat with some of the other sanctuary owners, and we found out that January was a very busy month for the animals being returned. And that's not kind to them, the animals, I mean. Have a safe Christmas. Thank you very much for joining us.